All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another lovely episode of Ignite Entrepreneurs. As you know, Ignite Entrepreneurs brings you business people living in Kamloops, Black business people, so they can tell us about their stories, their journey, their challenges, their victories, successes, and, we can learn from these stories and use that to build our own businesses for upcoming business people. Today, we have a very, very important personality in our midst, and he's going to make the show spectacular. I'll read a little bit of his bio, so just to give you a hint, some of you know him already. His name is Mr. Collins Njoku, and he's the CEO of Collins Studios, a businessman with over 15 years experience in entertainment, information, technology, and financial services industries. He has a proven track record of delivering high quality and impactful visual and audio solutions that capture emerging market trends and meet strategic business objectives. He's a Master's of Business Administration holder from Thompson Rivers University, where he expanded his knowledge and skills in business and managerial economics. He also holds a certificate in management from Lagos Business School in Nigeria, a Master of Managerial Psychology from University of Ibadan, and a Bachelor of Arts in Fine and Applied Arts from University of Nigeria. He's passionate about developing and nurturing new ideas into successful solutions. His mission is to use his creative and analytical talents to generate value. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome me with a rousing applause, Mr. Collins Njoku. You're welcome to the show today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. I know you're a very busy person, but thank you for
welcome.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, you can't tell it better than the person who owns the business. Tell us about your business.
Okay. It's a very big question, and the reason it is big is because I'm a very explorative person. I have been involved and currently involved in various things in two major folds, the creative fold and the business fold. Okay. Now, from the creative angle, as you had read, I'm the CEO of Collins Studios. Collins Studios was born out of my passion for film creation, And speaking about the creative fold, I would trace it back to the time I was an undergraduate, studying fine and applied art. I got exposed for the first time to acting because I took a course, as a final student, you would complete one course in theater art. It was just a prerequisite. So I did that course, and during that course, my professor, Uche Nwozuzo, thanks to him, we used to call him Oga Uche. Oga Uche drilled me. He helped me to realize the potential I never knew. I just loved acting from a distance. I never knew I could do anything, I could do much, but having completed that course, which I needed to complete anyway, I realized I actually had a lot of interest in it, and it didn't end there. He picked up interest in me, and in fact, introduced me to the first professional movie gig I did. It was in 2003. It was an Andy Best production. Okay. It was a movie titled No More Wars. I played a significant role. I was a younger self of Mona Obiekwe, the late Mona Obiekwe, and Peter Edeche was in the movie. I met lots of big guys. And after the movie, I realized there was something, special about me, which I didn't know, apart from having been told by Andy Best personally. So I fast forward to when I graduated from school. I got a job with MultiChoice, and that was like my first introduction into the professional world of entertainment. And my interest in that job was to get into the African Magic Studios, where I would further my passion for acting and production. But unfortunately, I ended up in the business part of MultiChoice, where the subscription and the marketing and sales was happening, not really the studio. So I spent 6 years there.
Wow.
During which I learned a lot from the business of entertainment. I didn't really get into the studios, and I was happy about what I learned, but that wasn't really enough for me because I really wanted to be in the studio. You know, I left MultiChoice, went into sales and marketing in the IT. I worked with an IT firm. You know, then next with an insurance firm where I also further honed my marketing and communication skills, which was of course enriched with my experience and exposure in art. But as at 2020, I felt it was time for me to try do my own thing, and that was what brought about the creation of Calling Studio. So I set up the business, registered it in Nigeria, and did my first production in 2021. I produced a film titled Mysterious Marks, in 2021, which sold to African movie channels and lots of other platforms then. So lots of experience over the years within the creative part, and now I'm in Canada. Fortunately, Calling Studios is currently having a recording artist under its management, while in Canada. But then, all this I've been saying is only in the part of my creative business side. Now, taking a look at it from the other parts of other things that I do that is not really the creative. So I would say that also in 2020, when I left my 9-to-5 job, I also set up 2 other businesses. So I had a clothing line, which was also inspired by the contacts I had. I had a lot of friends that were importers from Europe and North America, and during my interaction with them, I realized that they had access to bring in very nice clothing at more affordable rates than people would typically get in the open market in Lagos, and I felt like it was an opportunity for me to get into that market, and I seized it. That was what gave birth to the clothing business. In the same light, I also had wooden furniture installation and interiors business, because it also came about just as the clothing business happened. It was through the same contacts I realized that there was also an opportunity to get European furnitures in, sell them at far reduced rates, and make good margins instead of having people buy very expensive in the regular market. So I saw that opportunity. So basically, most of the businesses I've done, like I had mentioned, I'm a very explorative person. Most of the businesses I've done have been me identifying an opportunity and trying to see what I can do with it, leveraging the contacts I have, leveraging the connections and the network I have to, make the best out of it. And, right now in Canada, having moved down here to expand my knowledge in business, especially from global perspective. During my study of MBA at Thompson River, one of the things that I noticed, especially when I just landed, was that lots of the international students that got to the city had issues with moving stuff, so I experienced that firsthand because, here, unlike in Nigeria, where people pay rent annually, once you pay annual rent, you go to bed. Here, people pay monthly. So the potential for moving regularly is high because you can change your mind after 3 months and want to move. So it was a major issue. It was a major opportunity, not an issue. It was a major opportunity. And I noticed that it was also very expensive because when I wanted to move myself to another apartment, first of all, getting a mover was very difficult. okay, and people had to be booked in advance. It was so tedious. It was like, there was demand for the service, but the supply wasn't really there.
Yeah.
And when you eventually get it, it's so expensive. I didn't understand why. And for someone like me who was born into a family where my dad was into transportation and logistics, I didn't see the reason why highly sought after business should be scarce. I think it should have been more available. So that inspired me to, look at that as a business opportunity again, just like I always did, and so instead of getting myself a salon car, which I would have typically gotten because I needed to be mobile, I decided to get a van. At least with my van, I can, do small pickups for people, because I noticed that most of the time, people who want to pick up or move stuffs are not necessarily moving something very big. They just got maybe a piece of furniture and they want to move it to their apartment, and they don't need a very huge vehicle. Occasionally, the kind of demands that come are little pickups, and I decided that, okay, if I got a van, I could do little things like that. And guess what? I already have a network of people. I belong to the African group made up of almost 1,000 people. So the opportunity was right for me. And as a marketing professional, once I'm able to see the market, see the demand, then business is right.
It's there.
Exactly. So I saw those two things. I was like, what's holding me back? I got the van, and that was how I started my business, which I named Sienna Man.
Sienna Man.
So currently, that is my baby in Canada. The other businesses I set up in Nigeria are still running, but as far as Canada is concerned, majorly into logistics. Moving stuff for people, both large scale, little scale, whatever scale you want, as well as anything that has to do with maybe furniture installations, because I have experience with furniture as well. So the combination here is, a lot of times people want to move furniture that they don't know how to assemble when they disassemble it. And because of the experience I have gathered with my furniture and interiors design business, everything came together.
How was your childhood? You said you're very exploratory. I'm wondering, could this be a function of childhood? Were you very playful, mischievous as a child?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was born in Surulere in the early 80s, when all the kids had were themselves to play with. We didn't have the internet, they have social media. So all you had was yourself.
Sand and stones.
Yeah, sand, stones, sway. There's what we call sway, and all sorts of things outside. Then play rubber as well. Those games. So that socialization was like ingrained. You don't have a choice but to. If you don't socialize, if you don't do stuffs, you are seen as an abnormal kid, by default.
They did mommy and daddy?
Yes, of course. Even action.
Mommy and daddy?
Yes. Yeah, then action. You pick up roles. Some will be Arnold Schwarzenegger, some will be Tom Cruise and all that. And we did all that, and we had to be very imaginative to entertain ourselves. We had to think out of the box. How do we create fun? Nobody would create your fun for you. We got used to creating things, bringing it to life, enjoying it, and be happy.
Imagination.
That imagination. So we grew up trying out different things, and fortunately for me, I had a good background, education-wise as well. My parents were not very educated, but they understood the value of education and good morals. Yeah, at least I can proudly say I was fortunate to attend one of the big private schools as at the 80s. Private schools were not common. We had more of public schools as at then, but the few private schools were available there. My parents made effort to get me in there. So I got good exposure. I had good contacts, associated with sound minds, and my high school was also a federal government college, which was amongst the best then, in the early 90s. So I had that good exposure growing up. So that's also helped me to form, sound mind from early stage, and gave me a good background. And one other thing was, the kind of training I got from my parents. They would always encourage you to be your best and try to be upright in your doings, because they had that belief that whatever efforts you make, as long as you are genuine, it will always bear fruit. So I grew up with that orientation that if you work hard genuinely, no matter what, there might be some delays, but you are going to get your results. It's just
Yeah.
certain.
So
So
your seed.
yeah, so that was just how I grew up. Yeah.
So how you got into multi-choice, you wanted to get into the studio, you got into the business arm instead. If you look at your whole life, would you say that everything happened as was planned, or did you just stumble into some of these things and you saw the opportunity?
So there are two sides to it.
Mm.
We have plans, but we also pray for wisdom to navigate, whatever situations that come along our plan. So it's difficult to see anybody who planned his life and it went straight the way he did. But the truth is, I always had plans, but along the line, when I identify another opportunity that would add value to me, I don't leave it aside. And that's the explorative part of me. I want to try and see how I can bring in that, because I've always had that orientation that, most of the very wealthy businessmen I know, are not into one business. They're always doing different things. Some of them, they don't even need to like it. Once they see that it's an opportunity, there's a market for it, and they can afford, they have the resources to make it happen, they simply invest, And so that's the mindset that I have. The best wish that I would say I had growing up would be to be into creative line, produce my movies, sell, act, do stuffs within that line. But maturity and experience teaches me that, see, you can't just stick with only your passion. You can't stick. Nobody goes about waiting to make sure that his passion provides all the food he needs. While you're pursuing your passion, any other thing that can also give you money and you have the resources, you go into it. And that's the reason why I have my hands doing different things. And as a matter of fact, right now I'm experimenting in gardening. Don't let anybody know, but I have a garden in Kamloops where I'm, trying to see what I can do with crops, special kind of crops that are not very common for the African community. We are trying to experiment on how the possibility of, that our crops grow within a certain number of months, and that makes it very difficult to grow within this city, because before you know it, you are out of summer. And winter comes and kills it. I'm experimenting on how I can maximize the summertime, if it has to be for me to build a greenhouse and all that, so that we can have more of that supply. And that's like a business opportunity I'm experimenting on. I don't know why I should have said it. I shouldn't have said it. People will go and copy it. Don't copy. Yeah. So, that's how it is for me. Once I see something that makes sense, I can't call myself a farmer, but I've seen an opportunity. And do I have the resources? There are resources everywhere. We have the internet. You can learn new things. You can take short courses. So that's just me. I can't call myself a farmer, but look at me now, looking at farming. That's just who I am.
Somebody who has a trained eye to see what others don't see. You see the opportunity, and you connect demand to supply.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I like to do.
How has Sienna Man been in Kamloops?
So, Sienna Man has been good. I would want to start with even letting you know how that name came by. It's a very funny thing. So, I don't even think I've shared this story with anybody, not even my wife. When I got the van, yes, I had the intention of going into the business from the onset, but that name wasn't there. And I'm not somebody that bothers so much about what to name my business, because I believe that I can name my business whatever, then build a brand around it, and that name becomes that brand. It's not like the name can be black if I like, but what I do around black gives the black identity. That's my mindset. I don't care about what the name is. So I wasn't thinking so much about name until I called my friend and told him, oh, I just got a van. What van? I said, Sienna. He said, oh. So in Igbo, he said, it was in Nwoke Sienna. And that means, in English, it means you are now a Sienna man. Oh, that sounded interesting. I was like, okay. So I thought about it. I didn't want to have a business that is into logistics and the name is something logistics co, and those kind of mundane names. So I just wanted something a little bit playful. And as soon as he said that, I translated it to English. It made sense. I was like, okay, how's it? Very funny, right? But that was just how it came by, and yeah. So what I'm building around Sienna Man now is not just about movement. It's about it's a business that is going to grow into being a household name that is known for anything like any handy kind of job that is required of you for your home to get your home functioning properly. So that's where the brand is going to, and I'm building resources and putting things together to make sure it gets there
So
eventually.
you're even thinking about the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, building, expanding it, collaborating with other guys who have, like minds, who are also within the logistic business. I currently work with a lot of people who are also into logistics because a number of times I get gigs that are much bigger than, I can handle with my resources. So I collaborate with other guys to make sure that we're getting things moving. So
Interesting. Where would you say this entrepreneurial mind came from?
absolutely from my parents. Yeah, my parents, they have always been into one business or the other. My dad was a businessman. He was a transporter for many years before he retired. My mom was also into different businesses, was was a fashion designer. She made wares. She also, ran restaurants in Surulere, Lagos, and different stuff. So, and because I was always interested in what my parents did, I would always be with them. So I was, from childhood, I spent time with my mom in her shop. So after school, once I leave school, I spent time with my mom before going home. And that was how I, got the idea of putting something together, attracting customers to pay for it, while I give them what I put together. So that idea of having what people need and what people are willing to exchange for money. So they give me the money and take it. So I have been exposed to it right from before 10 years. Yeah. So yeah, that's it easily. Yeah.
Most people mention something very similar. They will say, "Oh, it was my teacher that inspired me, or it was my grandma, it was my grandparent, it was a significant other." What would you say would be the role of parents or people who have the opportunity to nurture young ones? What's their role in actually helping these people see themselves and see the future?
Parents, the role of parents is very significant because you are the first teacher of your kids. Your kids, you are their first role model. You are the first hero. You are the one. There is this saying that no other person wants you to be better than them other than your father or your mother.
True.
They are the only ones that are happy to see you better than them. And you knowing that as a parent, knowing that you want your kids to be better than you, then you need to help them realize the potential that will make them better than you. You have to consciously put the effort in to ensure that your kids beats you, in everything that you aspire them to be. If you were trying to be a scientist and failed, then you don't let your kid make the same mistake. You are the best person not to let your kid go in the wrong direction. So parents have a huge role. It's very demanding. It's a very demanding task being a parent. But I mean, it's a responsibility you took upon yourself as soon as you became a parent. So you don't have much excuses. You just have to play it. So that's basically what it is.
True, very wise. Yeah. Especially in these times where there's so much information on social media.
Yeah.
Kids don't even know who's guiding them anymore. So
exactly.
the parents should step forward.
They need to.
For that kind of guidance.
Exactly. They need to.
Since we're talking about parenting, you'll be a parent on this show by sharing 5 values or principles that helped you through business.
Yes.
When things were tough, when you thought about quitting, when you thought about expanding. 5 major things that kept you going.
Okay, first of all, I would say planning. You need to plan always. And the planning doesn't mean everything will work exactly the way you want it, but at least it gives you a guide. It puts you in a direction to where you want to go, and that helps you to, structure your mind and movement. Then the next thing that will help your planning is being organized. You have a very huge dream, But the reality is that you can't start from the biggest part of your dream. If you have the dream of building a mansion and you don't have any money, then you should think about how to make money first before building the mansion. So you have to break it into bits. If there is something huge you want to do, always learn to break it into, milestones. That will help make it more realistic. If it's so huge and you don't break it into bits, take them phases, it looks very impossible, and you are most likely going to get burnt out. But if you plan to achieve something and you break it into bits, break it into realistic timeline, then it's easier for you to achieve. That's how everyone who doesn't have a lot of resources achieve big things, by phasing out their plans. So that's it. Another thing is resilience. Along the line, don't think that things will be rosy all the time. It's hardly ever. There will always be that thing that doesn't want you to succeed. Some people call it village people. Yeah, it's there. It could come in different ways. It could be your inexperience that is holding you back. You must learn when to stop and think through what you are doing, re-strategize, not giving up, but make sure that you're on the right path. Try other ways, but keep focused. Continue pushing. It's not. There are several times when I have set up new businesses and in a whole week, no business. Sometimes 2 weeks, no business. But because I understand that times are like that, and again, I'm somebody that deals with data. I perform my research. I found out that every business has its downtime during the year. So there are times, like during my clothing business, I know that February, January, mid-January towards beginning of February is usually very tough. Why? Because people have spent so much money in December. Second week in January, they start paying school fees. They don't want to start buying clothes that period. Clothes is not their problem. So during that period, I'm not expecting a blast. I know that it's going to be a little bit down. So what do? If I want to push, I have to have some incentives. I have to bring in some incentives to motivate buyers. So I'll come up with one promo or the other, price slash, clearances, and that will keep the business moving. So those are the ways. So the trend determines how you push, and you have to understand that trend so that you can console yourself and strategize at different. If you don't understand the trend, once it's down, you think your village people is after you, and nobody's after you. Just the business trend. Yeah. Another thing is we have to ensure that while praying, while planning, we pray. It's very important. There's always that limit that humans go. No matter how much you try, I believe in God a lot, and I don't forget to call God into whatever I'm doing, because I know that after making all my effort, some things I might not see, and that is why God is there. He's going to put the path straight for me. Sometimes I make efforts to achieve a particular thing. I do all my best, even when I have opportunities to do things the wrong way. I insist in doing things the right way. And when I do that, I seize that as an opportunity to ask for blessing. I'll say, "See, God, I could have stolen here, sure, but I didn't steal. I did that because I believe that you are going to bless my effort. That's the reason I didn't steal. I want to prove to myself that I can do things right and still be blessed." Because a lot of people would say you can't get a lot of money if you don't steal. I don't believe in that. So whenever I'm presented with the opportunity to do things wrong, I use that to challenge God, to prove to me that my genuine effort is not going to waste. So I'll do it the right way. I will not seize that terrible opportunity. And usually he blesses me. He would find a way to make me realize that because you did not do this bad thing, this is why you're getting this. And that keeps pushing me, that keeps, motivating me to continue in that good path, because genuinely I know that there's reward in doing it, and I always see the reward. Yeah. So that's it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Most of what you talked about had to do with a lot of waking up the senses. Not only do you have a trained eye, you also have a trained ear, because that's how Sienna Man came.
Yeah,
If you're not
exactly.
receptive to that, you won't be able to pick it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing everything.
Thank you.
Sharing your story, sharing your games when you were young.
Yeah.
I played a few too when I was young.
Yeah, nice.
These days, it's mostly on screens.
Yeah, on screen.
Hardly have time to go outside to play, but schools are trying,
Yeah,
but we need to try harder. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, viewers, for spending time with us, for keeping us company on this show. Hope you have learned a lot from the show. There's so much that came through the show. It's not just about setting your mind and say, if it's not this, I'm not doing anything. You have to be open to possibilities, open to be flexible. Have a trained eye, have trained ears, wake up your inner senses, believe in yourself, do the right thing, even if you have opportunity. Easy opportunity to do the wrong thing, always choose to do the right thing, because it has consequences and it has rewards. And have that vision. Don't lose that vision. If there's something you really want to do, throw yourself into it, look for the demand, do your research, talk to people, read, talk to people in town who are doing the same thing, collaborate. And that's another thing that came true. If you have a business and it's so much for you to do, you can look at other people and join hands and join resources and supply the need that the client needs. But thank you. Thank you for watching this show. As always, we always bring you on Ignite Entrepreneurs. We bring you the best of 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 people in Kamloops doing business, Black people doing business. And we hope that their story will encourage you as well. So thank you for watching, and don't miss the next exciting episode of Ignite Entrepreneurs. It's going to blow your mind, and this is all you need to start a business and start your entrepreneurial journey and make money. And we want to see you on the show someday sharing your story as well. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.